Okay. So, good evening. I'm juggling with too many devices, but probably it's going to be fine. So I'm really happy to be here tonight at this Deca Lab, VR Lab, and Google Lab events. And thank you, Natasha and David, for having invited me. So tonight, my job and my task is to bring you to a short journey through the past of virtual reality. So virtual reality is obviously a new promised land. And my job, as I said, is to bring you toward its past. And focusing, as the topic is, on artworks that addressed those issues of alterity and otherness, and to see how it resonates or not with today's VR 2.0. So let's start by this VR from the 20th century, VR 1.0, and let's recall what its promised land was at that time. The main idea at that time was to create immersive 3D computer graphics environment, simulated environment. The computer graphics part is important because it was really, today when we see 3D, we mean stereoscopic. At that time, it was really focusing on 3D graphics. So basically, it was to create from scratch, to build from scratch worlds, be they realistic, like the flight simulator or the harbor simulator. Yes, there is harbor simulators, or fully imaginary. And basically, this is what the artists did. Most of them created 3D graphic simulated world, with a few exceptions. One of them is Michael Neymark, with his field recording projects, and Michael Neymark is still active into VR today. And Michael created this C-Banff in '94. And besides the fact that he invented Google Car before Google, what he did was video recording, okay, that were mapped on a wireframe computer structure. It was done by hand. For some reason, the video is speed up and pixelated, which was not the case when we could experience it through this device. What was the most exciting, of course, at that time was also this promise to be able to create and explore any world, possible and impossible worlds, to explore a world of imagination, and to feel, to perceive the world of the other, or the world of others. And wearing the helmet was kind of putting a magic costume to be transported into otherness. And otherness can take different forms and different kinds. And one form of otherness is to be in somebody's head, to try to understand what are the ideas of the other. And in this work, which is one of the first VR work from '92, Home of the Brain, by Monika Fleischmann and Wolfgang Strauss, in a very conceptual, it was highly conceptual, they were presenting the theories of Paul Virilio, Wilhelm Flusser, Marvin Minsky, and Joseph Weizenbaum, no less. A world that you could navigate and explore at your will and space, going from one philosopher to the other. Another work, also from '92, is Inherent Rights, Vision Rights by Lawrence Paul Yervelumtum. And it was one of the first VR pieces that was developed in the VR program at the Banff Institute for the Arts in Canada, in the Rocky Mountains in Alberta. And Lawrence Paul Yervelumtum is a very famous First Nation artist, a painter from the Vancouver region. His name, Yervelumtum, means the man of masks, the man wearing the masks during the sacred ceremony. And he's the one who labeled VR the white man's mask, and to whom I borrowed the subtitle for this presentation. His work in general is highly political, with a claim to protect the land, and the other in inherent rights, vision rights, is both a native alien culture from the First Nation and the world of spirits. And it presents a landscape in which a sacred ceremony in the longhouse is taking place, a landscape where you can navigate. And all the graphics are based on Lawrence Paul painting and drawings. So here is a navigation into this world. The video is going to start. I thank Decalab because they digitalize my... It's important to mention that it is not a film, it's not a video, it's the navigation of a user experimenting the environment, all right? The colors of the video are quite faded, and so I have put on the other screen pictures, because here you have got the real vivid colors with a bright red and blue, and I need to go quicker. So what is very important, some key elements into this work is that first is sound-driven. If a computer that was running the sound was crashing, you could not experiment the work. And I think the sound issue is very important. It is displayed into this plexiglass case with all the guts, so to speak, of the technology visible, and on the top of it, you cannot see it very well. There is the traditional instrument with the skull of the animal creating the sound. The pace, the space, the speed of your movement into this VR world is the one of natural movement. You cannot go quicker than what you would do in the real world. And at that time, when it was easier and very trendy to be flying around, it forced gravity. So you cannot fly around. So despite the crudeness and the simplicity of the images, and I can imagine that for people that are something like 20 years now, they think this is, oh, come on, right? This was an extraordinary and strong feeling of having been allowed into an otherwise forbidden space, into a forbidden sacred world, a world that you not belong to as a white person, into the world of a Rocky Mountain spirit. And maybe we can... Another work and another Otherness is, of course, the non-human animal. And in this piece, placeholder, also developed at the Banff Center for the Art, Brenda Laurel proposed an experience, a world from the point of view of a snake, a fish, or a crow, which was kind of metaphorical anyway. What is interesting for us today in this piece is that it's a shared environment in which you can have three participants then that can talk to each other, interact to each other, and interact with the master of ceremony, so to speak. It combined video images mapped on a wireframe computer structure, computer grid, together with 3D computer graphics images. So it was based on the system developed by Michael Neymark. And what is important also for us today is that it's a narrative, it's storytelling, and it's a stage virtual theater where the people were stage, the audience or the participants were stage. The other can also just be somebody like you, but who is not you. And molecular informatics, which is a work by Seiko Mikami, Japanese artist Seiko Mikami, whom we lost earlier this year and too early in life, is a work meant for two. A world where the two people are facing each other, but blindfolded by the VR and mountain display. And by eye tracking, by eye movement, you are creating your own molecule and making the sound at the same time. And if you coordinate properly and make quote-unquote eye contact into the VR world, your two molecules bond, and a new harmonious sound is created. So this work really focuses on encountering the other, first by recognizing her, and then by connecting and bonding. And again, despite the crudeness of the image, which is, you know, dot and a line, The strange and interesting thing when you remove the helmet is then you have really the feeling that you have actually bonded, that you have actually made an contact with the other person. And in this piece, too, the sound is extremely important. And it's not today's topic, but it's very interesting to notice that the interfaces to navigate those worlds were quite different, quite varied, and invented. And what I think is very interesting in this piece is the interface is your own eye. It's eye tracking, and this was really a key element of this work. VR 2.0 is very much in line with what Brenda Laurel, with her narrative approach, and Michael Neymark, with a realistic approach, had in mind, what they were hoping for, what they were dreaming of. Today, obviously, the image, without an H, is highly realistic video footages, an image that you cannot distinguish from reality, and in what I called ultra réel in French, ultra real images, and of course the growl, the kill hap, okay, is to build environments that can be shared, in which the audience is being told a story. In some cases, embodying a character, a persona, without necessarily being active or in charge. And this is, of course, readdressing the issue of cinema and of immersive cinema. And what I think, and what is very interesting in today's VR, is the collapse of the role and place of the audience and performer in having the audience becoming the performer. So two examples, early examples, pre-Oculus Rift of this storytelling and audience staging could be on one side Otávio Donassi, the Brazilian artist that Jean-Luc Sauret exhibited at the MEP, the Maison Européenne de la Photographie, in 2005. And you are also have some gimmicks added to it. It was very fun to do, actually. And on the other side, of course, you have Eric Joris with Terra Nova about the Scott expedition in the South Pole. And if you look at the, I'm not sure it's really clear, but on the bottom right picture, they are also playing and spraying water toward the audience. What VR today is also readdressing is the issue of telepresence and embodiment and the notion of a surrogate body. So I've almost reached my time, so I'm not going to develop that. But here was a work by Eduardo Cac in '96, which was a telepresence work, where both the audience that could be online through a See You, See Me system and the audience on location could embody the body of a robotic parrot and see the aviary through the body of the parrot. And this robotic parrot was not moving except the head. And when I talked to students later on about this work, I put myself in a corner and I start doing this and talking from them without moving. And maybe I'm somebody moving a lot. So it was really constraining the body. So this leads me to a few temporary concluding remarks with our discussion element that we are multi-sensory being and VR is not only images, it's more than images. And I think for me this is one of the key elements. Sound is very important, the interface that you use to be and to move around in the VR world is as important as the visual. The second element is that beyond the helmet, glasses, screens, and so on and so forth, the body of a user is also the media, and this is very important for me too. Third is obvious, there is not one single category or approach to VR. And fourth is otherness might be less being the other, wearing a shoes, than sharing something, that is recognizing the other, but there is an other in front of you, or in the same world as you, and bonding and sharing. And I've gone through the 20th century, very little into the 21st century. VR works because I have not experienced that much work from the 21st century. One I had the privilege to experience is Mirage by Grinderman, as Natasha mentioned. And for me, it has been one of those aesthetical, emotional, and intellectual shock. This is really a great piece. I'm not sure if it should be labeled virtual reality or altered reality. We can discuss that later, because now we are welcoming Makiko Izu, who is in Tokyo.